So how do you define ego first? Like, what is your definition of an ego?
I think ego is in the creation of your fear, your insecurities, your traumas, your limiting beliefs. Because ego is a shadow, and there is somebody who said this, and I really love it, and I use it all the time. But your ego cannot lead you the way, but your ego never leaves you alone. So if there is a sunlight, then there will be a shadow,
Hmm.
but you can't just deny the shadow. And I think appreciating shadow and the fact that you have to work with the shadow, that is something that we all need to work on. And I think that's a lot of work. Ego will, I think the ego shows up as a decision or as a kind of like ego version of who you are that to me it almost feels like if somebody's like taking over, dominating my whole presence and consciousness and like physical body and making decisions and to live my life. But I also believe that ego is a gift because again, without the pain, you never learn.
Hmm.
Without my failure and all the countless of stupid things, I don't have a chance to actually get where I am without all these failures. So I think ego is a gift that can teaches us like what is the most important thing in life, which is love and which is very, very positive. And it's beautiful. And I don't think the sadness is not beautiful. I think it's everything is beautiful because it exists. But what we truly unite and aligned at the end of the day is something love and fulfills you and like it puts a smile on your face.
Hmm.
But ego can teaches us to show us the way, but there's going to be a battle and there's going to be like if you are like let's pick up that animal thing. Like if you're look at the animal and like yeah like they're a piece of shit or like they're not intelligent enough. I think that's just the projection or some sort of manifestation of the internal belief that they probably experienced something, let's say receive some criticism or they were told that they are stupid or like those kind of experience can easily like reflect that to lower somebody or to put ourselves into a position internally that hey, I'm better than this guy, I'm better than the animal. That
Mm.
actually creates the sense of like validation. And I think that's completely ego driven decision because that's coming from fear, that's coming from insecurities.
Hmm.
So addressing that, the core belief and what happened and why you feel this that way is very necessary process to understand. Okay, I this is my ego driven self.
Mm. Yeah, because to me, again, that one's one of the scarier ones because if you have almost this blindness to be able to recognize consciousness in something and like a living creature, how when does that stop, or how dark can that get, or how far can that scale out? Like, is it just a whale? Is it does that go to dogs? Does that eventually end up with people? And then you start hurting people. Like to not be able to recognize pain or emotions or just being in another thing to me is really scary. There's a question that's really alive for me right now, and I asked it last night in this group chat that I was in. I was listening to the Lex episode, and he recently had Yuval Noah Harari on. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He wrote *Sapiens* and *Homo Deus*. He's like a really like controversial figure, like author, public speaker, and one of the questions that I think Lex asked is, can consciousness exist without intelligence? And can intelligence exist without consciousness?
Ooh,
Hmm.
that's deep. I I think like we have all the idea of consciousness, but like I have my own experience of DMT activation or to get out from my body or like whatever it is. but intelligence, I think true intelligence is beyond time and space. So I believe that yes, I believe that if the consciousness is something that the grand scheme of the life in the universe, then I believe that without a consciousness, and I think intelligence cannot be existed because the consciousness also beyond time and space.
Hmm. Yeah, I tend to be in agreement with that. The way that he answered it was he was saying that obviously intelligence can exist without consciousness because we have AI, and then he said plants. And where I push back on that is I would say AI does have consciousness. It's a collective consciousness, right? It's reacting, like the intelligence is the output of everything that it's collected, every question that every person has asked, every statement, the way that you're interacting with it, right? Like if you're yelling at your Siri or you're yelling at ChatGPT and you like, you stupid computer, that's going into it. So all of that collectively is leading to that intelligence. And then he said plants, which to me, all of the research I've read about plants and what looks like intelligence also suggests consciousness, right? So if you have a tree and there's a specific virus that is affecting the plants nearby, that tree throughout the network of roots will actually go and protect its saplings. Like it'll protect its like quote tree, like its tree babies over other trees. Like it prioritizes its lineage. And to me, like, yeah, that's intelligent, but that also suggests consciousness. And there's this other study where we had there was like a robot and it was in like this massive space, like I think it was almost the size of a football field, and it had a whole bunch of like baby chicks or baby ducks, like fresh hatchlings, and the computer was on a randomized setting to spend enough time, like random amount of time, like focusing on different areas of this field. And what happened is after the hatchlings were introduced, they would move the hatchlings around, it would start prioritizing focusing on the hatchlings, and no matter where they moved, like that's where the computer would start focusing on. So to me, again, like that's something's happening that's beyond an
Yeah.
intelligence that suggests some kind of consciousness. And what that means, I don't know, because as you said, it's almost only this internal experience that can be validated only by ourselves. So I don't know if it's ever going to be something we can measure, or if we're just not there yet, or if we're not supposed to be able to. Like maybe that's part of the magic of it.
Yeah. But I think it's very similar. I'm not type of like tech guy, so I don't know what's the, the AI and all that kind of, I'm trying to learn the ChatGPT and all that, but that's where I'm at. But I think it's very similar because, the DNA and all that kind of thing is also kind of like data and a very mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in a way, you know, it's just a difference between very natural biological us programmed and numbers and data within our cells and all that kind of thing. But it's on the other hand, it's a man-made data and all that kind of thing. It's fascinating though. Absolutely. I don't know where the AI will go, but I think we all have to adjust the new way of living because otherwise people will get left out, and I think it's going to be very, very painful experience, especially
Mm-hmm.
people who has business. So I think we all should at least have an attitude to understand and accept the fact that okay, this is new, but this is how it's going to be like, like an iPhone. When iPhone dropped, we were like, oh no way, like we're not going to touch fucking screen. But then now we're like, we just cannot, separate ourselves now. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's we should be able to at least adjust
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
whatever it is.